Hello there, my name is Jasom Jensai. Welcome to Star Wars Duels. This video is Darth Vader versus Mace Windu. Star Wars Duels is a series where I analyze two Star Wars characters' tactics, mentality, and power and explain what I think would happen if those two characters fought each other. The battlefield for this duel will be Yavin 4. While you watch, tell me in the comments, who do you think would win? Do you think Vader had to kill most of the Jedi to bring balance to the Force? And what is the most awkward line from the originals? Mace Windu is a powerful Jedi. He is dedicated to the Order, but his hatred and fear of the Sith caused Anakin to choose the dark side. Anakin lost everything because of Windu. Vader versus Windu is an awesome battle. Vader will be seeking revenge against the Jedi who denied him, and Windu will be determined to destroy Vader, a Sith Lord. Darth Vader is a powerful Sith Lord. Even Vader's breathing is terrifying. Vader is extremely strong. He can lift full-grown humans with one outstretched arm. He can overpower Luke with one hand. Although he was not as strong as in Episode 5, Luke was able to hold himself and Yoda up with one hand. Vader is incredibly strong. Vader's armor is terrifying, but surprisingly, it actually works. Vader's suit is fireproof, can block direct lightsaber strikes to the shoulders, but is susceptible to electrical attacks. Vader has survived a hard lightsaber strike to his shoulder and even a lightsaber attack to his face, although his mask was broken. Vader's suit and cybernetics give him incredible strength and durability, far beyond most beings. Unfortunately, the suit slowed Vader down significantly. Vader may be slow, but he can deal with speed. Vader has incredible reflexes. Vader is one of the best pilots ever, perhaps the best. By himself, Vader attacked the Phoenix Rebel Cell in his TIE Advanced. Vader forced the entire fleet of 4 CR-90 Corvettes, 8 A-Wings, and the Ghost to retreat. However, by the time they got away, Vader had taken out 7 of the A-Wings and 1 of the CR-90 Corvettes. While piloting skills do not directly translate into dueling ability, Vader's extreme piloting achievements demonstrate his incredible reflexes and explain why he was able to keep up with an extremely fast opponent like Ahsoka. Ahsoka was faster, but she could not break through Vader's guard because of his incredible reflexes. However, reflexes alone are not enough. Vader needed to use his skill to pin Ahsoka down and use his strength to put her on the defensive. Vader is slow, but he makes up for that with reflexes. Through his skill, Vader pins down even very fast opponents and uses his dominating strength to finish them off. Even if an opponent can break through, Vader's armor is tough enough to protect him. Vader has always been strong with the Force. After his injuries, Vader lost much of his natural talent, but through his training and his hatred, Vader has reclaimed most of his former strength. But Vader no longer uses the Force like a blunt sledgehammer or as a last resort. Because of his loss of power, Vader was forced to sharpen his abilities. He uses the Force to overwhelm, distract, or destroy his enemies. Vader may have lost some of his brute strength in the Force, but he is strong enough to lift an entire AT-ST over his head. In the Canon video game Jedi Fallen Order, Vader holds up 150 tons. Vader is incredibly strong, but rather than throw a massive boulder or unleash a massive force push, Vader usually hurls multiple smaller objects at his opponent extremely fast. One of Vader's greatest abilities is his force choke. Vader can choke his officers without lifting a finger when he is not even in the same room. Vader is strong with the Force. He uses that strength to overwhelm his opponents rather than destroy them. But if his opponent is weak or distracted, Vader can easily finish off his opponents with a simple but deadly force choke. Vader is relentless and terrifying. His strategy is to dominate. Vader starts his battles by terrifying his opponent. This is usually extremely effective, but I do not think it will affect Windu very much. After activating his lightsaber, Vader slowly moves towards his opponent and waits to see what they do. When his opponent attacks, Vader responds with his incredible reflexes and his overwhelming strength, turning their attack into his counterattack. Vader will attempt to use his power to wear down and defeat his opponents, but if that does not produce results or if his opponent runs away, Vader will throw every object not bolted to the ground at his opponent, overwhelming him while he continues his attack with his lightsaber. Vader is relentless, methodical, and terrifying. Mace Windu is powerful and direct. When he went to arrest Palpatine, he simply walked in and told Palpatine that he was being arrested. That gave Palpatine a chance to gather his lightsaber and make the first move. Windu showed all his cards immediately. He had no plan B, no backup. he was overconfident. Windu was confident in his ability to defeat any threat, so he will often attack directly at the source of the problem with no plan, simply instinct and swiftness. Unfortunately for the Jedi, this strategy was very effective for hundreds of years. They had no real challenge to their power, so they could simply walk into a situation and trust the Force to warn them of any danger. However, when confronted with an equal, this strategy is effective only if that equal is also unprepared. Vader will not be unprepared. Mace Windu's confidence led him to favor very swift and direct strategies. But Windu is not overconfident for no reason. Windu is a powerful duelist. He is strong, tough, skilled, and extremely fast. In the Battle of Ryloth, Mace Windu showed his blinding speed, quick thinking, and his skill on the battlefield. The problem with the attack was a long plasma bridge that could be shut off from a control tower. Windu and a couple clone troopers tried to sneak across, but halfway across the massive bridge they were found and it was deactivated. Despite having nothing but falling MTTs and a few stabs around him, Windu managed to get himself and his clone troopers to the other side. One of Windu's greatest achievements is his near capture of Darth Sidious. Although it may seem like Windu defeated Sidious, many people believe that Sidious lost on purpose to try and convert Anakin to the dark side. My point of view is that Sidious intended to barely lose, however halfway through the fight he lost control, and Windu was able to defeat him. Windu's fighting style is like himself, focused, direct, and powerful. Windu uses Form 7, but not Juyo. Windu made a variant of Form 7 called Vaapad. Form 7 focuses heavily on aggression and offense. Juyo relies on a user's passion and hatred, emotions of the dark side. So Windu made a variant that focused more on bravery and purpose instead. Form 7 is the most offensive and direct style. Rather than focus on defending himself, Windu focuses on distracting his enemies. However, Windu has mastered other fighting styles. In the Battle of Ryloth, Windu uses Form 5 to defend himself against the Separatist blaster fire, until he was close enough to use Form 7 effectively. Form 5 would make sense for Windu to study. Form 7 relies on offense, so supplementing it with a Form 5 which specializes in transforming defense into offense through powerful counterattacks would be extremely helpful in a duel. Windu uses his Force powers whenever they would be useful, but his lightsaber skills are far beyond his Force abilities, so he rarely uses the Force during duels. However, his Force powers are powerful. During the Battle of Ryloth, Windu shoved an entire ATTE over the edge of a cliff with a Force push. Later in the battle, Windu destroyed 4 battle droids, 2 super battle droids, and 2 destroyer droids with 1 Force push. And then right after that, Windu destroyed an entire AT by dropping something on it with the Force. When confronted with multiple targets or one large target, Windu will use his powerful telekinesis to smash, shove, or crush his target. Windu is a powerful Jedi. He is an excellent duelist and is strong with the Force. Unfortunately, this power gives him overconfidence, so he never has a good strategy. I don't know if it can be considered overconfidence though, because Windu is usually powerful enough to simply not need a strategy. He's defeated over 100,000 battle droids, Jango Fett, and even Darth Sidious. Windu is one of the most powerful beings of his time. Both Windu and Vader usually start their duels with lightsabers. Vader is calm and dominating, while Windu is fearless and relentless. Windu is faster, so Vader will have to rely on his reflexes to defend himself. Vader is stronger, but Windu might be skilled enough to leverage his speed and keep Vader from effectively using his superior strength, although Vader is incredibly skilled as well. But this is more than just a lightsaber duel. Both Vader and Windu are powerful Force users. Vader is probably more likely to use the Force, and his use is generally more creative, but Windu is just as powerful. The temples on Yavin 4 are massive stone structures. They have very flat concrete floors and thick, sturdy walls. Outside the temple is a forest, but the battle will begin just inside the upper layer of the temple. Vader walks into the dark temple. It is too dark to see, but Vader reaches out with the Force and can feel the world around him, especially the Jedi. Out of the shadows, a purple blade ignites, coloring the stone walls with a violet light. Vader calmly ignites his bright red blade, challenging Windu to a battle. Vader calmly lifts his blade up to a defensive position. Neither warrior makes any moves for a few seconds. The only sound is Vader's terrifying breathing and the hum of their deadly weapons. Suddenly, Windu attacks, but Vader is focusing on his opponent with the Force. Before Windu is even within striking distance, Vader has lifted his blade up and easily blocks Windu's first attack. Before Windu can strike again, Vader steps forward and pushes Windu backward. After his flawless execution of the beginning of the battle, Vader follows up with an aggressive, powerful series of attacks. Windu, surprised by Vader's controlled intensity, retreats. But Vader is not perfect. After a slight overextension, Windu is able to flip over Vader, attacking his helmet. Vader's suit limits his ability to defend himself, and he is forced to step to the side. But he does not give up momentum easily. As Windu lands on the ground, Vader is already attacking. Windu ducks under Vader's attack and counterattacks with a swift strike at Vader's lower torso. Vader barely blocks the attack, but his defense is firm. Now Windu has momentum. He unleashes a swift flurry of attacks, but each one is met by an immovable parry. Windu strikes Vader's shoulder, and amazingly his attack is not blocked. But Vader's armor is extremely durable, and Windu's attack merely hurts the Dark Lord, fueling him. As Vader tanks the hit, he grabs Windu's wrist and attacks with his own blade. Windu twists out of the way and knocks Vader to the ground with a powerful force push. Windu force pulls his lightsaber and ignites his amethyst blade. But Vader is nowhere in sight. Windu reaches out with the Force, but Vader is gone. For the first time during the battle, Windu feels fear. Windu holds up his lightsaber and begins searching for his enemy. Windu walks towards the hangar door that leads outside. Suddenly, Vader is behind him, attacking relentlessly. Windu falls back on Form 5, trying to regain the offensive through his strength. But that was a mistake. Vader is far stronger than Windu, and Windu is quickly forced to retreat. As Windu leaps backward to escape Vader, Vader force pushes him. Windu falls onto the weathered stones outside the temple and drops his lightsaber. The Dark Lord walks towards him, and without lifting a finger, tears several large stones off of the weathered temple walls. Windu calls his saber towards him, but does not ignite it. Vader hurls the mossy stones at Windu, who dodges all of them. Vader lifts up several more and suddenly lunges forward, attacking Windu with his lightsaber. Windu rolls to the side, ignites his lightsaber, and gets pelted by a few heavy stones hurled by Vader. Vader does not let up. Windu's arm is bleeding and his leg is bruised, but he refuses to stop. Windu steels himself and launches himself towards his adversary. Vader and Windu clash in an incredible show of speed and strength. Neither can maintain a steady offense or crack through the opponent's guard. Vader gets pushed back, catches Windu in a short blade lock, and shoves him back. For a few moments, Vader is in control, viciously attacking Windu. But soon Windu kicks Vader in the chest and quickly follows up with a blindingly fast series of strikes. Windu's blade is a purple blur, dancing around him and attacking in the dark, a movable warrior wielding the crimson blade. In an instant, the rhythm is ended. Vader catches Windu's wrist with his hand, but Windu flips over Vader. Vader clumsily spins towards Windu and swings his blade for the killing stroke, but before the strike lands, Windu kicks Vader back with both of his feet, freeing his hand and falling onto the hard, unforgiving stones. Vader staggers back and falls over the edge of the temple, out of sight. Windu slowly rises to his feet. His muscles ache, his arm has gotten worse, and now his back is screaming in pain. After quickly bandaging his arm with a piece of his cloak, Windu reaches out and feels where Vader has landed. He's alive. Windu rushes down to the forest, battered but not broken, ready to battle the Sith. Windu lands on the ground and ignites his lightsaber. Vader is waiting on a small hill, making his height advantage even more noticeable. But Windu also notices Vader's injuries. His shoulder armor has a dark cut in it where Windu's blade struck. His cape is tattered, and some of the armor plating came off of Vader's leg, revealing a robotic mechanism underneath. Windu rolls forward and leaps towards Vader, but Vader quickly slices several tree trunks and they fall towards Windu, knocking him out of the air. As Windu throws them off of him, Vader aims a massive attack at him. Windu is forced to retreat, and Vader follows up with a clever disarm. But before his lightsaber even hits the ground, Windu force pulls his saber back and reignites it in time to block Vader's next attack. Windu is knocked to the ground, and Vader steps forward, attacking Windu and stomping on his ankle. Windu screams as he rolls away from Vader. Vader lifts several fallen branches from around himself and launches them at Windu. Windu tries to dodge, but his ankle is broken. He is struck in the face by one of the branches. As Windu tries to stand, Vader steps forward and knocks Windu's saber out of his hand and stabs the Jedi through the stomach. The second greatest Jedi, the fearless warrior, Mace Windu, is killed by Darth Vader. So with that, thanks for listening to my thoughts about Mace Windu versus Darth Vader. Comment any criticisms, congratulations, or questions you have about the video. And don't forget to turn the red button gray and the gray button blue. No, not the dislike button blue. Turn the like button blue, silly. May the Force be with you.